Hello, I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I just wanted to give a brief update. You probably saw a very long video I've posted today, and that is really a desperate plea for to my colleagues directly. It's basically the people who I really respect and trust the most. They are all very good people. I have read some of the comments where people said, yes, all the universities are involved and are doing it, and all I can say, having worked in a university, is that not all people are involved. You know, that's basically it. I think even within universities this is highly frowned upon, and occasionally colleagues, come across projects that they think aren't ethical, and then all hell is raised. And I'm really hoping, money can bewitch absolutely everybody, and I think this is basically this is what I'm trying to say, is whatever system you're dealing with, psychopaths and corrupt people are there all the time. So you have to make your system such that they are resilient against this. And problems cropping up and then being resolved isn't a problem. It's when the problems, for example, like black projects or unethical projects like we are suffering from, are not brought to light and are not resolved. That's what's really devastating. So I'm so sorry that I haven't kept up with all the comments. I'm really trying, because I've published my email address and I've received a couple of emails, and they took me quite a long time to reply to. And the one thing that I discovered replying to those comments, or just to read the comments, is I am shocked. I'm shocked what has been done to people on this program, what the intelligence agencies have done to people. That really shocks me. I got a letter from one lady. She said, well, I'm a single mom and I've got an autistic child, and they've been doing that to me for years. And this makes me so angry. Not to get the email, it makes me so angry to know that there's this corrupt group of people paid by the government. And even if it's private contractors, they're still paid by the government, because that's the biggest pool of money. And I'm sure that the banks and other, corrupt entities are also paying these things. But come on, if there's a big pot of money that you can tap into, then even, private contractors will try to get the money from there. So I think that is the biggest stream of money in there, and it is absolutely devastating. For example, now I just want to, briefly show you something. So today the frequencies have been going absolutely mental, and actually now it disappeared, but there was a ginormous spike here in the area 2.8 to 3.2 gigahertz. So this area was massive. It was even above here. This is at 100 megahertz, and this is essentially just all the different frequency components, so they are switched off and on. But this area now is absolutely breathtakingly large, and there are some spikes that went up to here, and it's sitting now in my office. I have noticed that I slowed down. This is partially why I couldn't keep up with the comments, because I'm not sure what frequency they're using and how it's interfering with the nanoparticles that I received, but it's cracking my skull. It feels like your skull is being cracked from the outside and you cannot breathe. Essentially, it is just torture. And one of the things that I found very interesting, I'm sorry, it actually ended up in the spam. So there were comments from Bryan Tew, and Bryan Tew is one of the whistleblowers whose video channel I followed. And I've linked one of his videos from my whistleblower section on my website, which is called Rock the Boat. That's on the bottom row. On the right hand side, you've got Rock the Boat. And I just, it's still really badly written, my website, because I had to do it in such a rush. And it's just kind of bookmarks for me. But Bryan Tew is one of the very important whistleblowers. And now, today, I found his emails in the spam on YouTube. That's so typical. On Twitter, someone pointed out that, they just put all the interesting messages into the spam. And that's true. I actually checked the spam first, because the most interesting, the most punchy comments will be in the spam. How can this be? How ridiculous can it be? But anyway, thank goodness I did find these messages, and they weren't just ghost banned, because that will also happen at some point. But so Bryan Tew got through to me, and he sent me a link to a very long, very detailed interview that actually I didn't know about, and I was just listening to that today, and I haven't finished listening to it because frankly it's also really heavy stuff. So when it's being done to you, you know, at some point, if you're not a psychopath, you will feel physically sick that this is happening. And but what I've heard already just blew my mind, and he actually explained how all this, and this is what it feeds into. So I told you, I think in a previous video, that Eric Leo, one of the really young scientists, he, I think, has been just taken over by this AI system. But before it happened, he actually identified what he called the machine organized gang stalking. And he identified that all this gang stalking is just feeding into, you know, producing data for one big machine. And this was confirmed by Bryan Tew. And I'm so glad, actually, he made that interview, because it has everything you need to know in one big pile. And he's also answering questions. So I will link the interview from below, and I replied to Bryan, and I said, please get in touch, and I gave him my email address, because he's one of those very important whistleblowers who's also being tortured. But you really have to listen to what he's got to say, because he understands the technology. And in a nutshell, so having only listened to parts of this, okay, so don't rip my head off, listen to it yourself, okay? I'm just giving you like a taster. Essentially, he's saying how by now, over all the miscellaneous, you know, ways we can receive radiation, our minds can be mapped out. It's already, you know, we're already being hooked up to these supercomputers, and the targeted people are the ones who are essentially data collection centers. So our brains are being used to be mapped out for the sake of these research projects, you know. And actually just today, on my very last video, which was the appeal to my colleagues, which I'll just talk about in a moment, I noticed that someone put in German that actually these sort of experiments are now just, you know, available to researchers and their students on a laptop, so you can just essentially try stuff out on a person who's already hooked up to the supercomputer. So essentially, if you're in the lab, you can just trial stuff and do your whatever you want to do, social studies, medical studies, and, you know, mind-bending studies. And essentially there's this pool of victims, and doctors can just, you know, corrupt doctors can just tap into that. And I can tell, I mean, from sometimes you can use just systems analysis to tell you what to expect, even if you haven't seen it yet. And I expect to find stuff like that, but it was still shocking to see that black and white, because in the back of your mind you kind of think, oh yeah, one day they will have it, and then someone says, no, I mean, this is how it's going. So it is very shocking, but I think the reason why I really ask everybody to spread these comments, and the comments, which are always very good, also maybe my videos if you find them informative, even if I say wrong stuff, just to start the debate, because we basically need to onboard everybody on this, you know, sorry to use this stupid management expression, but essentially we have to bring everybody on board, because this is the ultimate battle, right, for our minds, for our freedom. And it's very true, and many comments have said that this is a runaway process by complete psychopaths and sadists. And all I want to say is that the sadism is, in a sense, you know, there's this tower of people, and it's at the top, psychopaths controlling other psychopaths, and psychopaths bullshitting other psychopaths to actually make them do what they want to do. And I think the entire Satanism and all this, you know, the choreography and the pseudo-religion bullcrap is being fed, you know, just like the alien nonsense, to the echelons lower down. So the people at the top know what this is about. This is about money. This is about controlling people. This is about power. You know, this is what it ultimately is about. It's the things that a real psychopath really cares about, because a really, you know, natural born bred psychopath, if you talk to him about Satan, he's not going to give a damn, because he will think he's like the best thing ever. So to tell him that there's this entity called Satan that he should worship, he'll be like, no, piss off. So, you know, all the Satanism crap is just essentially used on really dumb people to tie them in and kind of give them like a, what's it called? Like fetishize and you know, it's storytelling essentially, to make them somehow accept the fact that they have to do really awful things to people, and they will say, oh, but you're worshipping Satan, and I don't know what nonsense these people are told, but all this crap about lizards, about aliens, about Satan, no, this is not what it's about. It's about real tangible stuff. It's about control. It's about turning people into essentially robots. It's about killing people off who you don't like. It's about exterminating people if they get into your way. It's about silencing people if they speak up in your democracy about stuff that you want to earn money with, and you don't care for their opinion. I'm so sorry, I look like a mess because I'm absolutely exhausted. Last night I didn't sleep very well, and essentially today, for the entire day, my skull is being cracked. So you can feel, you can feel stuff just moving around in your head, and just like as they're interacting, triggering different parts. And essentially I'm being worked to death by this computer software. My brain is never left in peace, and this is essentially it for me. It's about utter neurological destruction so that I can't pass on what I know to you. It's about wearing me out. It's about utterly destroying me. It's about destroying my marriage. It's destroying my free time, my rest time. And I am exhausted. So if sometimes I notice in the videos I talk nonsense, or there's a break and I say something twice, it's because essentially, I am being interfered with on the most fundamental neurological level here. And I try to make sense, but whatever I say, please go out and check it, okay? Check the links, convince yourself, do you think that, or do you have an alternative opinion? And if you have an alternative opinion, please put it in the comment section, because what I want us to do is start a debate about this as well, So I'll try to remove the shills. I don't like to censor, but when it gets nasty, then I don't have time for that. Because also, not just because I don't want to hear these comments, I also think that a lot of people still need to have the courage to come forward, okay, and just say what they want to say. And not everybody, I spend a lot of time lecturing, so I am fairly confident talking, and I can make it up as I go along, but there are people from whom we need to hear. Sometimes it's the most downbeaten, the people who have been absolutely maimed and tortured in such a brutal fashion. We don't have words for that. And I want them to come forward, and I don't want them to be afraid, And when I see these bloody shills, it's quite good actually. What's really good, and I have to say, if you've got the time, if you see a shill, just to immediately reply back and bat them down. For two reasons. Number one is because if other people read watch my YouTube channel and they're thinking, oh, should I come forward, should I not, but what sort of reactions will I get? When you've been tortured and beaten down and essentially, just mauled for maybe years or decades, you don't want to be mauled again. So I don't want them to, think, oh, you will come online and then all these nasty people will say stuff to you, because then we will never hear from them, okay? So I'm going to censor stuff if it's really you know me, I'm going to leave all the comments up, but if there's actually, human dignity is basically the borderline. You can say any opinion that you want to say, but if you try to humiliate me, or if you try to denigrate me, I'm going to put a cut through that, Not because I don't think your voice should be heard, or because I'm so upset and I can't take it, no, but also because I think you will send messages to other people from whom we need to hear, who might not have quite as thick a skin as I have, So, but if I can't keep up with removing nasty comments, it really helps. If you're reading a nasty comment and someone already replied and, told them to just get lost because they're just a bot or a shill, it's then you kind of chuckle, and you've got this sense of community, and you think, oh, there are people sticking up for me, So even that helps. So anything that you can contribute, even this batting shills down, really helps. And actually, you don't just help other people to come forward because they see, okay, there are people out there in the community who will support me. But also, I think you're going to feed back to GCHQ and NSA and whoever pays these brain dead little people, that this is not working. That they're literally wasting their time. And I know that they've got money on tap, that's clear in everything that they do. But at some point, when they realize that what they're doing is essentially turning themselves into a laughing stock, personally, I would literally just take everything that annoys us and just tweet it at GCHQ. Just spam them, Just say, what is this bullshit at GCHQ, Just retweet it at them and say, we don't want this in our society. Stop it. They must see where the accounts are. You know, I don't know, does the NSA have a handle? But literally give them feedback and say we don't want this crap, because they're also running these social studies to find out what works. So if it, you know, annoys us, I just tell them, no, this doesn't work. You're just wasting time. And I am a very firm believer in personal responsibility, you know. So because actually, sorry, that's one of the things that keeps recurring. I'm so exhausted, I'm going to be all over the shop, so I'm going to just say the things that first come to my mind, because honestly my head is being turned into mush as we're speaking. So, you know, I'm sorry. But personal responsibility, yes, because one of the things that people kept saying is, oh, how do you know it's the intelligence agencies? And even if it's word, there's another level of intelligence agencies that are secret. And yes, no doubt there is, you know, these black secret agencies. And oh, we can't fight those and so on. But remember, all this is essentially a fog machine, okay? It is, everything is about keeping you docile, keeping you afraid, keeping you silent, because if you actually got going, you know, you would crush the bastards. That's essentially it, you know, it's just like a herd. You know, if they call us a herd of sheep or herd of cattle, and they treat us like that, okay, the only thing I want to say is that with cattle you have to be very careful, because if there's a stampede they will trample down absolutely everything, including the farm owner. And there are regularly, you know, accidents where farm owner is just trampled to death by his own cows just because they got scared by something and, you know, trample all over it. So I would be very careful, you know, with the herd, because when the herd gets going, like, nothing is gonna stay in it, you know, stand in its path. So this is a lot, you know, a lot of it is about that. Essentially, they are professional bullshitters. They are actors, you know, they've got a big fog machine. And all I want to say about that, of, oh, who's in charge and, oh, we can't fight them. Well, it doesn't matter if they are black intelligence agencies. Sue the ones that you see. Let them figure it out amongst themselves, you know. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is to restore the rule of law, to restore transparency, to bring everything to the fore, all the nonsense that is happening. And remember, we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. So I might be the most messed up victim that you might have seen, or if you see other people, you know, people who've been tortured for decades and had voice to skull that literally tried to break down their internal dialogue. I mean, that, remember, this is a war crime. This is a crime against humanity. Everything these people have done is a crime against humanity. And that's very, very serious indeed. And a lot of people have been committing crimes against humanity recently. And all I can say is that what goes around, you know, comes around. And in a network society, it will come around at literally 2 gigahertz, you know, with the speed of light if you're not careful. So our goal is to bring everything, all the nonsense to the fore and deal with it, you know. Help the victims, repair everybody who suffered, restore them, compensate them, and restore society. It's basically, it got inverted. It's all upside down, as you probably noticed, you know, and we have to revert it back. But to revert it back, first of all, I'm of the opinion, you know, we shouldn't kill anybody. That's not us. This is not what we do. We do the rule of law, and also we have to repair our laws because they got messed up in the process as well. But this is what we're doing, okay, in my view. So we're slowly turning it all back. But as we're trying to turn this, we will come under attack. I mean, sorry, I'm still aching from how I got shot in the kidney, and it's flashing up painfully. So I am really physically going towards the end if this doesn't stop. But I just want to say to all of you that you know, even if I go, you have each other, and part of this channel is also that you find each other. So if there's somebody who says really good comments, reach out, get in touch, and you have to network. All of you have to network, and don't just listen to my victim testimony. Go out and find others, because there are other people who need help. Okay, let's tie them all together. Follow them on Twitter as well, and I'll make a separate, shorter YouTube video about what you can do to actually help. But this is it. So this is just a very, very brief report of what has been happening. And as I said, I started with talking about this desperate plea to my colleagues, and people have been saying, oh, universities are involved. Well, not everybody. I tell you that, you know, I was shocked to find this out when it started happening to me, you know. And I've never heard anything like that, but then thinking about it, I'm not surprised, because all these projects have just been, you know, secret, and whatever is secret will always attract psychopaths. That's just what it is, psychopaths and corrupts, because they want the secrecy to live out their true nature. So it doesn't surprise me that uncovering this is the most psychopathic thing that we've seen. But all I'm saying is, even the stuff that Bryan Tew talks about, which is the hive minds, and the fact that, you know, you are being actually interacted with a supercomputer that is now controlling the radiation that interferes with your mind. It is that advanced, you know. And he was a contractor for the he was a defense contractor in the US, so he knows what he's talking about, you know. But even that is just the tip of the iceberg, because remember, when I spoke about all the alien nonsense, using just systems analysis and what we know from history, can also tell that all the stuff about underground bunkers and kilometers of underground tunnels, you know, is true. You know, there was some really hundreds of kilometers of underground tunnel already made public in the past, and we know that they exist. So these warrants will be there. There will be people who will be kept hostage down there, and the really nasty medical experiments will have been done down there, you know, where you cannot see the results of those medical experiments. So I expect, you know, it was really shocking when we uncovered the Fritzl case, but in a sense that was, I mean, it was horrific, right? That was horrific. The woman who was trapped essentially in a cellar and kept as a slave for ages, you know, her entire life basically down there. But expect to see many of those, you know, coming to the fore. We have to find those people, and there will be people who will be, you know, extremely disfigured, who will have been given diseases, and who will have been given genetic faults by insane doctors, and they will have been born into captivity. Where are they? You know, I expect to see them. So, you know, what we really need to build up is this compassion and understanding. And in a sense, if the people are already scared to come forward and say, I'm being shot at with microwave weapons, my brain is being read out, even though the neural monitoring stuff now is in the public domain, all the leaked documents, you know, Bryan Tew, all the key whistleblowers who you need to listen to and understand to know about this stuff are in the public domain. You know, but still people are very scared to come forward. And all I just want to say is, no, we really need to show the world how many of us there are, how many of us have been tortured by these psychopaths, you know, in silence. I want you all, you know, to have the courage to just literally buy yourself a camera for, you know, a couple of dollars. Doesn't matter. I mean, you've seen how bad my camera is. If I just talk for too long, the audio and the video just go out of sync. I don't have time nor money to actually buy myself a new one, so I just have to make shorter videos. But just buy yourself one, literally record something, or record something on your phone and just post it on YouTube. It's so easy. And then send me the link, you know. I'll post the link so that other people can do that. And if you're scared, ask people to follow you on Twitter. We have to keep an eye on each other, okay? So, you know, if you're really scared, have an agreement. You just say, I'm going to tweet every day, and the day I'm not tweeting, you know, something happened to me, my stalkers got to me. They will not get to you, you know, when you're being watched by so many people. They won't, but you will feel a lot better, really. And people will watch over you. I mean, so many times I was following somebody over YouTube or Twitter who I thought was just very good, and I was very interested, and they would have never thought I even, you know, followed them. Or sometimes I wasn't even following them, just checking their Twitter page regularly, you know, thinking, oh, wonder what happened to them, what are they saying now? So don't underestimate the silent mass who doesn't subscribe to your channel, you know, who doesn't follow you on Twitter, but will still keep an eye on you. And remember that 99% are not psychopaths, you know. Okay, that's all I have to say. I don't really want to make this video really long. There's thousands of things I want to say to you, but maybe I just put them into separate videos so you can pick what you're interested in. So bye for now, and I hope you're feeling better than I do.